Hey fellas. So, despite not being able to play any card game, at least not skillfully, I've always had a fascination with playing cards. Now, I don't know, it's just something about them. I have similar unfounded fascinations with other things, like I also really like grocery stores and airports, but playing cards are a lot easier to draw for, so I decided to turn my characters into playing cards. I wanted to randomize the experience a little bit, so I got this random number generator, and that shall tell me which of my characters to draw. They all have numbers, 1 through 6, all my characters do, so here we go. 2. 2 means I'm drawing Mattias, who is the 8 of clubs. So, for these cards, I wanted to do a little bit of a different style. Because if I do all 53 cards, which is not likely, I'll be honest, I want it to be simpler and, easier to do. Honestly, the one thing that's easier specifically about this style is that there's no nose, which is pretty fun if I do say so myself. I've always thought styles with, limited or no nose are pretty fun, but I like how bright and colorful it is. I feel like I always do a lot of bright, colorful colors within my style, but especially for this. Mattias is the 8 of clubs, as I said, mostly because he's the child of a spider person and has a spider person last name, so that's where the 8 comes from, because spiders have 8 legs, and he's clubs because it felt like something he would be. And also I felt that would go with his design. Clubs are made up of 3 circles. Mattias has circles on his eyebrows, his buttons, and his bow tie, and also his eyes are circles, so, he's pretty circular. And clubs are black, which he has black hair. It's not exactly rocket science. Yes, for this, so much as I like playing cards, I don't usually like the illustrations of the face cards. I think they're kind of weird. I'm not knocking the artistry and talent that goes into making them, it just isn't for me. But one thing I do have to say about face cards is that they're usually drawn for, no matter which way you put them, there's a right side up face staring back at you. This should not come as a surprise. This is what literally all playing cards do, but I don't trust myself enough to actually pull that off, so for Mattias here, I just decided to position him so that, it might make a little sense if you pulled it out of the deck upside down. He might look like he's being flung upside down, like you do. I also wanted to incorporate the colors of whatever suit I chose for the character, and also I wanted to incorporate the shapes of the pips within the designs of the characters. I decided beforehand that I would make the pips the iris shape, so you can see in here he's got weird little eyes. But yeah, I wanted to incorporate the colors of the suit, so for clubs it's black, and Mattias' color is pale green, which is a great color for him. It's very soft and gentle, and green makes you think of living things, and he's very nurturing, so it all goes together. But pale green and black go well together if you have a villain character, so I had to incorporate more green than black so that it would look less evil. I mean, at the very end, when I did the background, there's some black creeping ominously up from non-existence and down the top of the shape in the middle of the background. That shape looks like it's about to have a freaking corruption arc. It's kind of funny, and I don't think it takes away from the overall feel I wanted to give the card, so I kept it. He can be a little bit evil, for a treat. The thing about playing cards is usually the face cards are the only ones that are very detailed and elaborate, plus the ace of spades. But if I were to make the whole deck, which again, the chances are less than 1% that I would do that, I would make every card detailed and elaborate because I just really like it when things are individual and unique. So there would be no reason to have this deck if you were someone other than me. It'd be a decoration deck to look nice, and that's it. A decoration, if you will. To talk about the rules of this card style, I wanted a little more line weight variation, I wanted a more textured pen, and I wanted slightly simpler shapes. Again, I wanted to stay a little simpler, but I also wanted to kind of have it be more elaborate. Those things are opposites. I absolutely wasn't trying to emulate the actual playing card style, but that's where the line weight comes in. I actually really like the variation in line weight. I should do that more in my normal art. More rules include like I said, I wanted the pips to be in the eye. The pips are like the actual symbols of the card suits. I learned that while writing the script. And wherever I could, I included the shapes of the pips in other places. You can see I made it his bow tie and his buttons. I love that, honestly. I think that's so cute. You can also see I decided I'd take some liberties with the colors of the character design. I also decided I'd take some liberties with the colors of the character design. I didn't do it so much with Mattias here because I wanted to take liberties only if the color palette was going to be wacky, you know, like green and blue and black go pretty well together. I've already said this. The only issue was I had to ask myself if I wanted to include more black in his design to go with the colors of the clubs. I considered making his suit vest black or his buttons, but I also still wanted it to be recognizable as Mattias, and unlike most of my other characters, he only has one outfit that he regularly wears. I guess I could have put it in something else, but I also didn't really want to, so you get normal Mattias. I didn't do anything new with shading other than I color picked directly from an image I already had rather than slapping a multiply layer on there. I mean, there are already colors I've used for Mattias, it's just not a way I usually... I guess I did do something new with shading then, huh? Who knew? Yeah, I just used the same pen I used for the line art. The blush is kind of new. I got a new painting brush recently and I really dig it. So I've been using it in more of my art. Digital painting is a lot of fun, and I really should do it more, but it's just so time-consuming. Well, I think I'll be able to do more painting work in my comic, actually, so at least that's a productive excuse to do more painting. That was a tangent. I used the painting brush to blend in the blush, is where I was going with that, and it looks really cute, and I am happy. Another thing I wanted to say was that with this card specifically, and with all the cards, I wanted to make it so that whatever the number of the actual card was, that was how many clubs I would include, or not clubs, but how many of the symbols I would include around the character. So I did 8 different little clubs around Mattias. You can see them all hanging out around there at the very end of the drawing. You can't really see it right now since I'm still doing the character art. But now you can see it. Yeah, I really like the way it turned out. It's a cute little drawing of Mattias, a 27-year-old man. And yet I still call him my boy, so there he is. I love him. He's the 8 of clubs. You can see now what I mean about the arc in the background looking like it's going to have a corruption arc. It also kind of, well, you know what? I'm done with the drawing. Mattias is MLM anyways. I don't need to worry about any subconscious phallic imagery. At least not with his card. I would change it if it were in this next character's card, because the next character is an 8-year-old. The Queen of Hearts. She's Kelly. So the process for this one was excruciating, to say the least. At the very beginning, either Clip Studio or my tablet decided that pen pressure was unnecessary, so I had to go re-download the tablet drivers in order to get that to work properly. Then, as I was working on her, I realized, I'm already into a piece of media with a suit of card-themed set of characters. And I think I realized this beforehand, before I started this whole process, but I was like, it'll be fine, my characters are different enough. And then I made Kelly the Queen of Hearts, and if you don't know, the Queen of Hearts is one of the main 7 guys in Disney Twisted Wonderland. I mean, the idea of a main character is extremely loose in that game, but Queen of Hearts is one of the main attractions. So I had to deal with that association the entire time I drew Kelly. Line art was also extremely difficult. I think it was because I had a fairly shitty sketch, so trying to make that work was just terrible. Luckily, I didn't have to draw shoes. Shoes are my weakness, but I did try to draw a sword coming out of a sheath, and that just frustrated me to no end, I'll tell you what. So, and also, for some reason, the vector layers were behaving differently than they'd been previously. I think maybe it was because I re-downloaded all my drivers. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. It was it was a rough time. I am not going to talk about my struggles drawing this piece anymore because that's kind of boring. I'm going to talk about the design. So the same design rules apply for Kelly. I made her pupils the shape of hearts because she's Queen of Hearts, and I made her buttons hearts, and I tried to incorporate the bottom of the heart shape wherever I could, like her collar, the bottom of her shirt, and I think her mouth. I also just put the heart shape on the handle of her sword because it was a bad enough sword already. Might as well, just make it completely unrecognizable as a weapon. I made Kelly the Queen of Hearts because, well, I'd already decided ahead of time that all of her family would be of the heart suit, and Kelly wants to be queen, so this was just a natural thing to do. Her color is purple because purple is the color of royalty, but it's also light purple because she's a child. Red and purple go fairly well together, so that was a relief. I actually did make some changes to her color palette for this. Not to her hair, but to all the gray things in her design and to her pants. So I didn't change Mattias' colors because it didn't really make sense to. I still wanted it to be a vibrant piece despite the color of clubs being... black isn't even really a color, to be honest. Kelly's kind of in a similar boat as Mattias in that she only ever has one outfit that she wears, and she doesn't even have the luxury of it being a uniform. No, she only wears this, but I wanted it to be a cohesive color palette, so I made the grays on her shirt more red than purple, like they usually are, and I also changed her pants from blue denim to red denim. Do they make red denim? Well, now they do. I kept her hair as being more purpley gray, though. I still did want to incorporate purple into the background, and with the gray being more purple, I hoped it would still look nice in the end. Unlike with Mattias, I didn't care about even attempting to make this card look like it could go either way. This is the correct way to hold the card. If it's upside down, you will know. The reason I did this was because I made 4 or 5 thumbnails for each card beforehand, and with Mattias, I definitely wanted to give off the illusion of it being able to be held either way, but when I was penning Kelly's thumbnails, I was drawn to this certain type of composition, so I was like, screw it. So now you can't see the bottoms of her legs, they go off the end of the card. I thought this made her look more royal than if she were freaking spinning around like Mattias apparently is. Yeah, I did kind of want to make her look royal. She has a very stoic look on her face. I mean, that's just a Kelly thing. She's a very stoic 8-year-old. And she's drawing her sword out of her sheath slowly, not in a fighty way, in a commanding respect way. I also wanted her to look fairly stable, fairly symmetrical, which was a feat because I drew this at midnight and I was very tired. My hand was not cooperating, and copy-pasting facial features is something that's reserved for specific characters in my style, so yeah, it was a mess. But I think I pulled it off in the end. She does look somewhat determined and queenly. Something I was concerned about was that she is an 8-year-old. I don't know if she looks like an 8-year-old here. I mean, I made her head pretty big and her eyes pretty big, but like everyone's eyes and heads are big in this style. Does she look the same age that Mattias looked in his car? She could. I'm not an impartial observer, so I can't really tell. But I wanted her to look like a kid. That was my intention with this piece. I tried to make her shirt look kind of loose and baggy on her, like it doesn't fit her right because she's so young. I don't know. Fun fact about that, you probably saw me draw that and then try to put a belt over it. The fun fact is that I was being very strange and belts shouldn't go over shirts. Belts are designed to hold pants up. That's the whole point of belts. I think part of the reason Kelly's card was so difficult was because I don't draw Kelly as often as I should. I really only draw tiny little pencil headshots of her on my schoolwork, and that's not fair to her. I should draw more finished images with her. Her and Alexandra, my 2 poor girls. I'll draw Alexandra tomorrow and Kelly the next day. That sounds good. That's my plan for drawing them. I'll just say that I'm going to draw them to the public, and then the perceived expectation will kick me into gear so that I actually will draw them. So I did want to mention something about this shading. I didn't do the same method that I did with Mattias. I did the method that I normally do in all my other art, which is picking a bright color and doing the shading with a multiply layer. But in this case, it is, of course, red. Normally I'd shade with purple for Kelly, but again, I want a cohesive color palette. I want all the colors to look nice together. I want that for every piece of art I do, but especially for these cards. Because one of the colors is out of my control, and that's like a challenge to do that. So here she is! Despite all of my complaining, I honestly like this card a lot better than Mattias's. I think the colors are really nice and she looks really cool. I also like how I did the background. I like how it looks like it's raining hearts around her like a thunderstorm. Cool stuff. Before I forget, the template I used for these cards is from makeplayingcards.com, which is a pretty cool website that lets you make your own playing cards, and the shapes of the actual pips and the lettering are from Ekaterina Dobrokotova, I believe is how you pronounce that. I'm super sorry if it's not. In her video, she explicitly says not to make the playing cards too personal, and I am so sorry for not following that advice. But they're my playing cards for me only, so I think I get a little pass. So thank you to her for doing such great work, and thank you to Make Playing Cards for providing the templates. This was super fun to do. I meant to do 3 cards this video, but I got caught up in schoolwork and I was not able to. But I hope you enjoyed regardless. I know I had fun thinking up different ways to incorporate different colors and shapes into my character designs. Luckily, my character designs are pretty bland, so it wasn't too hard to do. Anyways, I'm gonna go get a vaccine. 3 guesses as to which vaccine it is, considering the date of this video. See ya!